The world has a growing population, estimated to increase by 30% between now and 2050. By this time, 66% of the world's population is expected to live in an urban environment. Increasing urbanisation has led to the development of modern food systems capable of maintaining food supply in societies where vast majority of people do not produce their own food. Modern food systems are highly dependent on fossil fuels and have almost doubled their emissions of greenhouse gases in the last 50 years. It is anticipated that agriculture will continue to increase its greenhouse gas emissions towards 2050. Approximately 70% of the energy used in modern food systems is consumed post-farm gate on issues such as transport, processing, packaging and storage. Additionally, approximately 30% of food produced is then wasted. To meet future demand, it has been estimated that food production will need to double. There are two main ways we can accomplish this. Firstly, we can improve genetics and management strategies to result in yield improvements. Or secondly, we can expand production space to produce more food. The need to increase food production is further complicated by anthropogenic climate change. This is expected to result in changes to climatic conditions and increased extreme weather events. These changes are likely to have a detrimental effect on some food production regions and increase uncertainty in annual yields. So, Chris, can you tell us about Pasce Mundi? What's the main goals of the organisation?
So Pasce Mundi really cares about the future and the food security of the growing populace. We're looking at using current and emerging technologies to ensure food security for the future, particularly in high-density populations and regions where there's going to be a growth in the next 15 to 20 years. At present, there are a number of companies that use urban farming technologies. We're hoping to take that to the next level, really redefine what urban farming is, and we're looking at providing solutions that don't just focus on the current technology's ability to provide leafy greens. We're going to look at a full dietary requirement for each individual.
And Jason, how do you actually envisage this idea is going to work?
We're going to build it in clusters, so we're going to obviously go to the areas that are going to have the greatest impact from this technology. So we want to double food production by 2040, and we're going to achieve this by going in high-density areas. We're going to go in areas where populations really need it, where they don't have food safety at the moment, where it's not as reliable, where they need that reliability. And we're going to team up with production companies to be able to take it straight from the actual farm through to production and then distribution to people. So do you envisage this as going to be a farm that will be spread out in a large area, or should it be, how will the actual farm work? We're going to build infrastructure, so buildings. The key strengths of Pasce Mundi is that we have a good understanding of infrastructure and what's required. We're going to team up with governments to get approvals in areas that have high density populations, and yeah, that's pretty much how it's going to happen. Well, with urbanisation rapidly increasing, that's going to be very helpful. Now, I'm just still a little bit confused. Are we talking about big farms on the land within a city, or how are we going to produce this food in the city? Because space is obviously at a premium.
Yeah, so we're talking about a high-rise structure. The benefit is you don't need that land. So where land is going to be a problem, it's not any problem now, but in the future, we're going to build up rather than out. Now, I mentioned earlier that there are a few technologies and companies already looking into this, but like I said, we're going to take that to the next level. We're going to incorporate all the carbohydrates, proteins, vegetables, fruits, the whole lot. This will be situated in an area where people can rely on it and not the farms. It cuts down waste, cuts down logistics, emissions, and all those sort of problems that we have at present and in the future.
And how many people do you envisage that each one of these units will support, or do you envisage there'll be one big unit within a large area and the food will be distributed?
Yep, so through economies of scale, we're looking at one standalone structure for the food production. We envisage it would be in the thousands that we could provide food for.
And this is a big undertaking to be taken by a new startup organisation. Do you have any collaborations underway or in mind?
Yes, we do. We see this structure not only just being in isolation, we see it being able to be partnered with a food production facility. So rather than limiting the options of what people are going to eat, just fresh food straight from the farm, we see opportunities to collaborate with food production industry to have another building, if that's an option, side by side, so we can work in partnership there on the spot in one unit, and even going to the next level of having a full distribution chain at the bottom of those structures.
So effectively what you're saying is you want to have your farm co-located with your production plant, with your supermarket, so it's a one-stop shop for food production.
That's right in that high density urban population area.
This all sounds like a really big structure. What sort of costs are we associating with that, and how do we think the revenue streams are going to be earned, and are they going to be viable?
Well, when we're looking for investors, they're basically looking for a return on investment. So what we've done is we've looked at the costs of building the actual infrastructure. So that includes procuring the land, and that's a variable cost depending where we're going to build it. For different cities, it's cost different amounts. So we have high-level cost estimates for constructing a building per level, and we've calculated how much yield we can get for different various types of crops within these buildings, and we believe that there's a strong business case for a potential investor who wants to team with us. We've got some production partners in mind, and we're basically going to be selling them that business case.
Right. And I suppose we've also got the benefit of the community, the community and the environment, where we're reducing our use of pesticides, we're reducing our use of fertilisers, we're saving water. All of those things are going to be good for the environment as well.
We're basically looking at the triple bottom line. So at the end of the day, we are a business that does need a financial return on investment, but we're more than just that. We've got the triple bottom line economic benefits. So we're looking at sustainability, we're reducing waste, we're increasing efficiency. We're taking cars and trucks, I should say, that are moving food around the countryside. We're taking those off the road, which is going to mean that governments have to spend less on infrastructure. It's got a big flow-on effect throughout the whole economy, and yeah, it's just going to be great.
And of course, the third part of a triple bottom line is the community. How do we think that this type of infrastructure will support communities and improve the livelihoods of those who live in them?
Well, it's going to create jobs for the construction of this infrastructure. Also, we're going to be training people up in these local regions and how to actually operate these urban farms. So that's going to create jobs for the communities, upskill them, teach them about food safety, and people are going to know where their food's coming from.
And lastly, major issues at the moment, or a major issue at the moment, is climate change. How do you think this technology is going to contribute to that issue?
So this technology is basically hedging populations against climate change by putting food production in an enclosed system where it's not exposed to the influences of drought, flood, extreme weather events, basically. So, yeah, it's going to be a 365-day a year, 24-hour-a-day operation, farming that's sustainable. And yeah, basically it's going to have a good carbon footprint as well, because we're going to be using leading technologies to make sure that we're minimising the impact on the environment of farming. We're not taking up arable land. That's also going to contribute to less landslides in places where the land does get, the soil does get spoilt. So there's a lot of benefits to this, and it's really going to help into the future with an increase in extreme climate events. So
effectively we're improving the resilience of communities and their food security.
Absolutely.
Well, that sounds like a brilliant proposal, and thank you very much for your time. I look forward to hearing more in the future.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Okay.